Hey everyone, my name is Christopher and I use he, him, and z, them pronouns.
Hi, I'm Judah. I use they/them.
And today we're here with a very special episode of Speak Out, but before we get to the main event, we'd first like to introduce another staff member from OutWrite joining us who hasn't been on the show before.
Hi, my name is Michael. I use he, they pronouns, and I'm a copy editor at OutWrite.
Amazing. And unfortunately, Michael is not the most important person here today because we are here interviewing Cuee, who very kindly was featured on our Queer Next Up series last year. So just a little intro on Cuee. He is a 30-year-old Black trans recording artist from Chicago, known best for his interactive and hype live performances. Cue's music style blends the lyrical confidence of Missy Elliott and Chance the Rapper with the undeniable swagger and finesse of LL Cool J. His debut single, Shook, was released in 2018 and has accumulated nearly 450,000 streams on Spotify. Cuee is currently working on new music, which I'm sure he'll talk about today, and is anticipating dropping a new album this year, which he'll tell us all about. Michael, go ahead and take it away.
I'm so happy to be able to interview you today.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've been a fan for a really long time. But for my first question that I have for you, I was wondering, in what ways have your identity and experiences as a Black trans man shaped your music and how you approach it?
This is a great question. I think essentially, me being a Black trans artist in itself is one of the reasons why I continue being an artist. And I'll say that because the transition, I started music well before my transition. And a lot of folks knew who Cuee was before that. And music is very important to me. Very, very important. That's why I tell my life story. I tell other stories. I'm really just expressing the joy of being a Black trans human in that. And when it was time for me to start transitioning and thinking about my music, I was just like, how am I going to do this safely? How I'm going to do this where I'm still passionate about it. And I was really scared. I was really, really nervous. But I think with me being a Black trans human, that helped me really tackle the music industry, really signify my place in it. And it's because of the journey itself of being of a trans human, right? Our journey, and finding how authentic we are and finding what we need, what we want to be called, how we want to be represented in this world, is a journey in itself. And I think that helped me relate to my music. Is where do I want to show up in this world? What do I actually want to do? My background's in higher education. I got my master's degree. I wanted to work in colleges and work with students. I love admissions. I love but I also really, really love music. And so I found a lot of peace and joy within that. And that really just helped, those two correlations together.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I feel like you can definitely hear it in your music. Because it's as a trans person myself, being able to hear your authenticity and be able to relate, there's not a lot of artists that I felt like I could relate to. So,
and that's really important. I felt that in the process of me transitioning, the big question of how I'm going to showcase this in my music. I'm everyone knows Cuee, and I'm going to get on stage and my voice is going to change. I'm going to start looking differently, and how is that really going to shape out? And honestly, I'm glad I did it. I think the visual itself is really helpful for a lot of people outside of myself. And it really helped me really understand who I was and really stand in that.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine, because even just in normal everyday life, the whole idea of transitioning and oh, my voice is going to change and this and that is so daunting. So I can't imagine having a fan base and being in the public eye and having to do that in front of a lot of people. That would be...
And I didn't know what was going to come with it, and I still don't know, right?
Yeah.
It's still early stages, and every day I hope for the best, but I'm always prepared for the worst.
Yeah. No, that's a good mentality. But mostly I just have to say I admire your courage and bravery to do that, and it means a lot to so many people. But
and to be honest, that keeps me going. Every time I get a message or I meet someone and they're your story keeps me going, and I'm this is way bigger than myself, and that is what I love the most.
Yeah.
That is what I love the most. It keeps me going.
No, for sure. To move on to our next question, when we featured you for Queer Next Up, you mentioned evolving your sound with your upcoming projects. What's coming up and what direction are you going? And are there any particular artists that you hope to collaborate with in the future?
Ooh, loaded question. Well, like Christopher said in the beginning, do you go by Chris for short? Christopher, Chris?
Either's fine.
I'm worse because I always try to give nicknames and some people don't like them. And so, yeah. Coming up next. Oh, that was a loaded question. So,
Yeah, that was like 3 questions. So, okay, we mentioned evolving your sound with your upcoming projects.
Evolving my
What's
sound.
coming up? What direction are you going? We'll start there.
Yes. Oh, yes. Evolving sound. Yeah. So you all really like look through and was like, yeah, I definitely did the hardcore rap, right? Chicago kid. You know, I really dabbled into that. Moved to Kansas and then kind of opened up my world. And I was like, okay, I'm meeting a lot of different things. I love all kinds of music. I grew up in the church essentially. So I was in the gospel choir. So I'm not too far stretched from that. And I'm like, how do I bring everything that I love into one place? I also have so many different friend groups. I connect with so many different people. And so essentially I love all kinds of things. And I'm like, why not do everything that I love? A lot of musicians, I feel like, kind of pick one type of genre and stick to it. Kudos, do what you need to do, you know. But I love all kinds of music, and I'm gonna try it. And then I release something, and someone likes it. Someone may not like it. It's not for you. Go find something else on my track list, and I'm pretty sure you'll like something. And I think that's the one thing that I appreciate most about my journey and my sound is, like, I met a woman. We got off the flight. It was an older woman. First question was, I was like, yeah, I'm a hip hop artist. I'm a rapper. First thing she, well, do you curse? And I'm like, yes, ma'am. I do. I'm sorry. But I do have a few songs that don't have curse words and something that you may love. And so it was a real good, like, moment for me to be able to, like, I'll send you Ain't Going Back. I know you're going to like that.
Yeah.
Oops. I mean, I did swear in it a little bit, but you know, or like Blessed or something in that nature. And then when I'm with other folks who like pop, I'm like, okay, yeah, you should check out Gravity. You should check out Shook. But this new sound, what happened was Shook started to blow up, and I'm just like, folks are really loving this, like, love. People need love. This world needs a little bit more love, I think. And growing up, everyone always used to be like, Q, you're a lover boy. Like, you just love love. I love love. Like, I'm just like, why are we fighting? Like, that's just... And so I really wanted to encompass what love was like for me. And that's like self-love, like love in my partnerships, like love all around. And so I really wanted to slow it down a little bit and bring some love in the air. And so I'm releasing a new project, Valentine's Day.
Oh my God.
So cliche, but I had to do it. Yeah, so cliche. I just announced it today. So let everybody know now.
Yes.
Listening party. Yeah,
Yes.
this will be released half a week before Valentine's Day.
And let's go ahead and do a listening party. We can just let me know what y'all need. And it's going to be nice. It's really short. It's just introducing people to, okay, Q can slow down. I don't know if you all listen to See You Tonight. So, you know, it's a little different, right? Still kind of put you in the mindset of Shook. And so that is where the vibes are going. I'm really leaning into love.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Sorry, I had to. Yeah, that's so cool because it is like awesome, like how your musical like journey kind of like corresponded like with your transition journey. Like you can hear that evolution, and it's just like, I don't know, it's really cool.
And it wasn't planned, right? I look back and I'm like, I manifested this in my song. Like, you know, I'm like, oh, like Shook, I wrote that a long time ago, 2016. It released in 2018, right? And now I'm listening to Shook and I'm like, dang, that's my life right now. That's pretty cool, you know? Or just everything in between. And the new sounds. And it also attributes to me working with a new engineer. I started working with a new engineer who's originally lived out in the LA area for a while, moved back to Kansas City. And they were like, you're a musician, dude. Like, I want to push you in different ways. And I was like, let's do it. And then I remember recording one of the first ones was Runaway, which was a totally different sound. It was like slow down rap. I'm like, not usually used to rapping that slow, you know, outside of Shook. And when we finished that track, I was like, okay, I trust you. Let's throw me another beat that sounds a little different, and that's when it's like see you tonight. So I'm really excited to share a lot of stuff that I have on the docket, like with you all throughout the year.
Yeah.
Some great sounding things out there. Yeah.
No, we're all very
Yeah,
excited.
I'm excited for this year.
But yeah, and then I guess this was a long question. The next
Yeah.
part was, are there any particular artists that you hope to collaborate with in the future?
Everybody, no, not really. I take that back. That's so funny you asked that. Yesterday, I was riding with my partner. We were riding down 405 coming back from San Diego because we just go everywhere. Like people are
you
probably
should.
thinking like, yo, why you got to LA and you go straight? Yes. And we're riding back, and I'm playing a new song that I'm working on. And I'm like, in a couple of weeks, I go back to Kansas City to record, and so I'm like, need to finish this track. It sounds so good, and we turn it on and the beat's going, and she's like, oh, this is good. You know who I hear on that? Cardi B. And I looked and I'm like, let's add her to the list, right? And so it's like I've got some far-stretched dreams. I'm like, Cardi, if you ever watching this, you find yourself watching this, I don't know how, but please be watching this. We need you on that track. I'll send it to you for sure. But there's other artists like Taylor Bennett. I'm a huge fan of Taylor Bennett. Recently connected with Taylor on social media, which has been a really cool experience for me. I would love to have a track with them. Drop something like Pride Month, something cool like that. Also love Chance from Chicago.
I feel like that would be so good.
Right? And I'm like,
I can hear it. I can hear
yeah.
it for sure.
All three of us on the track, nice Pride Month anthem. I think it would be dope. And so I kind of manifest stuff like that, but
That's
definitely.
so cool. Yeah, I feel like literally I could literally hear all of those and I feel like they would all be so slay, especially Cardi. I feel like that'd be such
And the song, I'm like, oh, Cardi would eat me alive on my own track, which would be okay at that point. I was like, yo, you can. I'll take it how I get it at that point. I'm like, wow, you really carried us on that one. But no, yeah, that would be really cool. I think that energy on the track will be amazing, and it really show face. Or all in all, Beyonce, I mean, she announcing tours and doing all these amazing things, and really taking her projects and opening them up, and inviting trans folks. Like Big Frida was on one, and I'm like, yo, you really want to expand? The world will go crazy.
I'm the guy.
Yeah, what you're looking, I'm right here. I've been here. So that's the energy I'm trying to move through the world and bring them into my orbit, my circle, and
Yes. No. Well, I'm manifesting.
I'm like, let me put it out in the world so it just comes back, and I'll message you out one day and be like, holy shit, did you all see that?
You're like, Beyonce just DM'd me.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, that's the energy I'm coming with now.
That's awesome.
Big dreams.
Yeah, as you should. So you mentioned shook in your past couple answers. And so yeah, you've kind of already answered this, but just touching on it a little more. Your 2018 song Shook is gaining more popularity now. So how does it feel to have a song gain more traction years after it was released and all of that comes with that?
Shook is a funny story because during transition, I re-recorded Shook post a year after being on testosterone, and so voice changed. So I have a re-record of it where I sound obviously totally different, and I reached out to my distributor, and I was like, how can I just swap these songs? I don't want to lose my stream. I don't want to lose streams. I was so worried about all of that. And they responded and were like, you take this down, you just got to start over. And I was like, well, this is not inclusive. That's right. That's how I really wanted to respond. I was like, what learning lesson is this for me? And I think it was this is how people are going to figure out your journey now, and the fact that there's a lot of people that follow me now that may not know much about my journey, right? They might have to go back. And so I try to keep that at the forefront and really open, and especially with Shook blowing up. And I remember I was not out at one of my part-time jobs. Mm-hmm. So folks didn't know. They were just, if they knew, they knew. If they didn't, they didn't. Right? But they knew I was an artist, a rapper. And so people started following me, and the word started getting out. And I'm like, oh shit, clout. I'm starting to, people are going to figure out. And there was one guy at my job. He's one of my biggest fans. Amazing guy. His name's Boston. Love him to death. He came to work one day and he was like, dude, you sound totally different on that track, you know? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And
I sucked helium beforehand.
yeah. This is before puberty, you know? Like, and it was a great conversation starter, right? It was one of those moments where I was like, yeah, you know, like, you didn't know? And then he was like, oh, wow. And so now I take Shook as like one of those moments too of like signifying my transition and to know that stuff from the past just stay there and also make for a great story, right?
Yeah.
And so at first I wanted to like take it down and like put up a new version, but I'm embracing that 2018 version, and Baby Q is what I call it. That's Baby Q. You know, I was so young then too. So I'm like, that's Baby Q, little love song, and yeah, Shook is history. It's gonna.
Yeah, that's so cool too. Like, cause I totally, if I'm like trying to imagine putting myself in your shoes, like I would feel the same way. Like, oh my god, like delete, get rid of, like no, it doesn't exist. But I think that's so cool that you were able to reframe that and then turn it into something positive and embrace it. And like, I kind of feel like all of your music is kind of about that, like embracing positivity and like heading in that direction. I think that's so awesome. But
I mean, with more than half of the horror stories we hear, trans folks, black trans women, black, you know, it's like we have to bring some positivity in the world somehow.
Yeah.
One of my close friends, journal editor out of Lawrence, they state that a lot. They're like, I can always count on something positive coming from here, and you did it again. And I'm like, I think the world just needs joy, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's not a lot of joy that it's accompanying in the news, especially when it comes with queer trans folks, right? It's just
I always brace myself.
Yes, I'm like, okay, what are we gonna read now? You know, and I want people to hear my story and to hear it and be like, okay, there's the joy. This is what's happening. And I connect with so many different people and folks, and I find it as an outlet to really get people to understand, especially ones that act like they don't or don't, right?
Yeah.
And so I've learned that positivity and joy, and even if they don't, the end conclusion for me is always so much lighter.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know where to touch you.
Yeah, and that's their problem and their.
I'm like, that's some heavy weight you carrying there. You know? Like, and so that I try to keep the positivity. And back to the whole zodiac thing. I heard Sagittarius are also kind of happy go lucky, just free spirits, and I kind of like really channel that. You know?
No, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Hold on, sorry, my phone timed out.
It wasn't over here just having a great combo.
Yeah, so I guess kind of going off of that, like, you know, like your whole journey's been about positivity and bringing positivity, and then like you're certainly so inspiring to so many people. But I know like I myself am like a trans person who like loves music but like kind of doesn't know like how to get into it or do that. And I'm sure there's so many other young trans artists out there who don't know where to start. Do you have any advice for like young trans artists who want to like get into music or start doing stuff? Or
This is a great question. Advice. I think it's so many layers to it, right?
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about this before we started filming, right? It's like
the
journey in itself is very difficult. And I think the only advice I would give to any fellow trans folk is get really comfortable with yourself.
Yeah.
Get so comfortable with yourself that no matter what somebody says, it will not make or break you left or right. And I think that will help bleed into the music, and use it as an outlet. Music is an outlet for me, right? I use it to tell my story 9 times out of 10, or someone else's story that may not be able to tell it. I'm working on a song now that's supposed to be slated for a movie, which is about a trans man, which that is my experience, but the storyline is not the same experience I went through. And so it's again channeling like things that I hear or meeting other trans humans, and they're like, that wasn't my experience. And just being really open to like learning new things and hearing new things. Just being open. Being very comfortable with yourself. I think I just go right back to that is learn how to love yourself.
Yeah, no, I feel like not only is that good advice for like
getting to music, but just like generally,
like, yeah, like love yourself.
Yeah.
It's so hard when you feel like the world don't. And I
Yeah.
don't want to take that away, right? I like struggle through that too. I'm not always as positive. I have my moments where I'm hitting roadblocks, you know. It's not always what glitters, right? You know, it's not always so happy moments, but it's how do I get through these moments and figuring out why, you know, I'm here and I exist. And like, again, you're struggling. I let people hold their own stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Every time. I've really let that go. Therapy
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah.
Like, therapy helps. Yeah, therapy helps.
Yeah, but no, it's funny, like, you say that because, like, obviously, like, being trans will make, like, it's always hard to, like, learn to love yourself no matter what, but being trans can make that much more difficult because the world is, like, constantly not being so nice to us.
The world, the music world, right? The
Yeah.
hip hop world is so
Yeah.
transphobic. Like, I'm just gonna put it out there. The hip hop world is so transphobic. They really only want to listen. They really only want us during Pride Month. Like, to be honest,
Yeah.
like, oh, tabloid Q is a black trans artist. Pride Month, let's slap him on
they're
this
like,
thing.
check.
But then August comes around and you're doing a regular hip hop show, like knock knock, where are you? You know,
Yeah.
And my music's great. Like, you know, I'm an artist. I love it. And it's always been me trying to break those barriers and show up in these places. And it's like, yeah, I'm a black trans artist, but you could just say I'm a rapper today, and like I'm gonna get on this stage and I'm gonna outshine all the rest of y'all in here, and we're just gonna have a good time. Like, like, you know, the crowd is here for Q, right?
Yeah.
Too, right? And it's like,
They're not
I'm
here for,
gonna-
like, black trans rapper Q.
exactly, right? And it's like, that's not my tagline, it's not my slogan,
Yeah.
but it is an identity I hold so high, and like, you can't take it away. And I think that's what I navigate in the music industry. It's yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, I feel like being trans, like, I've, like, struggled with this, you know, like, through my own journey, like, learning to, like, accept it. For a long time, I was like, God, like, I would be, like, give anything to not be trans, but now I'm, like, glad I am because it's made me face all of these things.
Yes.
And I feel like if you're not, it's so much easier to, like, not really have to learn how to,
Mhm.
like, truly love yourself no matter what, even when the whole world is, like, against
It's
you.
an issue. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I feel like your music, like, very much exemplifies that, and, like, that strength that, like, you know.
That is really
Yeah.
cool. Because when I listen to my own music, I'm like listening like my stories, and then folks are like, I really connected and resonated with that, and I'm always so shocked. Like, my story is not that different, you know, and I'm gonna keep telling it because again, I meet someone who was like, I needed to hear that. And I'm like, I needed to say that. You know, it's like, I'm glad we're on the same page. Like, this is a moment. And now come to my concert and we can fill it out together.
Yeah.
Like, that is exactly how I'm like on stage. That is my moment. I'm like, you love my music, you like listening to it, but let's perform it. Let's fill it. Let's fill it together. And so that is, yeah, it's also a good moment. Visibility, people see me. I'm on stage. It's like a demanding space. It's like, you're gonna pay attention to me.
Yeah.
And I have the mic and I have the floor and I'm gonna say whatever I want. I use those moments to really like get people and like move crowds and realize that I'm growing a platform that a lot of people are gonna listen to. And like, I had one of my very, very close cis straight black male friends that said, it was like, Q, you relate to everyone. And I really appreciate about you because your transness, people can find themselves in your story, no matter if they're or not. And I'm like, that's big. Like, you know, that's really big. And so holding on to that and just being like, how do I remain authentic in a place that's like safe for me?
Yeah.
And also like gonna get people to really like sit back and think and love themselves
Yeah.
and be happy about it. And like, okay, I'm gonna dance around my living room now, listening to Shook after Q just put 2 tracks before that. It's like, oh man, what is this? Like,
Yeah.
and so,
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I totally agree with your friend. And also, like, speaking of, like, performances and performing, like, have you had a favorite performance, like, in particular that you've done so far? And then kind of follow-up question, is there anywhere, like, any place in particular that you would like to perform in the future?
yes. Oh, I've had a lot of performances, a lot of great performances. when I saw this question, I was like, ooh, this is hard. But also really not close at all. Silky Nutmeg Ganache. She had a big Silky Smackdown in her college area, which was in Indianapolis. We went, she flew me out there, so I got flown out, y'all. And I was like, ooh, Silky. And it was a big drag show. It was one of her like welcome back shows, and that was the first time I ever performed at a drag show.
Oh my gosh.
That's the next level, y'all. Like, a performance, cool, great. But the performance at the drag show was like 12 times level. The energy, the dollars. I like the dollars. Like, you know, it was a moment. I was on stage after my first song, and I had everyone laughing at the crowd because I was like, I've mastered like performing, rapping, and giving y'all a show, but I've yet to master doing this while catching dollars at the same time. So bear with me. And so that was a good, like, big crowd breaker. It was one of my biggest crowds to date.
Oh my
It was it was thousands of people there, y'all. It was so big. And it was amazing. The energy was just wow. And it opened up so many more doors after that, right?
Yeah.
And Silky was just like, they loved you. And I was like, I love them. And this was a moment, and I'm so grateful for you basically like giving me this opportunity. And after that, stuff just flourished, and I really got into the drag scene, and now I'm like in love with the drag scene, and I'm like, how do I get more shows in the drag scene? Where do I want to perform? Definitely Los Angeles.
Yes. Selfishly, I hope.
Super selfishly, like, yes, LA, but college campuses, y'all. That's my jam. I love the college students. I love y'all.
Ooh, call them up for Bruin Bash next year.
I was
Calling
just
it.
about to
2024.
say.
Yeah, so who do we need to contact for Bruin Bash?
No,
Let my manager know.
TBH. We'll try to figure that out. That would be
Yes,
so
That would
awesome.
be so awesome.
Yo, I will, wherever y'all had this bash, we will turn up, okay? Came out for So Far. You know So Far Sounds? Have you ever heard of that? It's like
That sounds familiar.
some like concert series. I came down to San Diego, so they showed me a great time. But I know
That's
LA is going to show me an
cool.
even better time. So
Yeah.
definitely want to do that. But I really want to hit college campuses. I really want to
Yeah.
connect with students. I know that's really broad, but
Yeah.
my like dream goal is like do a nice college tour where I'm like daytime connecting with students, maybe hosting workshops, maybe in spaces where I can connect with queer students, doing something, and then at night we go and party and have a good show. And
That
I'm,
would
like
be so
throwing
cool.
concerts, right? And I'm like just hitting all my favorite colleges around the world. That is what I want to do.
Well, as a college student, I hope you
Yeah.
do that.
It's on my radar. I'm like, how do I plan this out? How do I get there? And so when you all contacted me and like came out the first time, I was like, this is happening. Like, I'm connecting with college campuses, and this is exactly what I wanted to do. I just love college students.
Yeah, that's so
So
cool.
cool.
Because it gets to like almost combine like your love of music with, you said you got your master's in like higher education.
Yes. And
So
so
it's
my
like
background's
the
in higher ed.
perfect
It's
like
like, how do I stay with everything I love all at once? And it's like,
yeah.
yes, I can still help students. I can still be connected. I know the story. I can relate. And also still be a musician. It's pretty
Yeah.
tight. There's room for that, right? There's room for me. And some of my favorite concerts ever I've saw being a college student that came through my college town, and I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah. Well, our last question, perhaps maybe one of the most important questions, what brings you joy?
What brings me joy? This is
That's
Well,
so open-ended.
so open-ended. I'm like, so many things bring me joy. On the latter, like food, okay?
So real.
Because if I don't have food, I'm the opposite of joyful.
Same.
But what brings me joy is sharing my art with the world and producing art, being an artist. And I'm highly grateful to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
Y'all know that some folks can't. And so just being able to do that every day and know that I wake up, produce art, and changing the world in places and moving people
Yeah.
years before I even meet them
Yeah.
or connect with them. It's always cool. Sometimes I like, oddly enough, Google my name or like search my name in Twitter or like search my name in Instagram. And then I'll realize some folks have like been talking about, I'm like, yo, have y'all heard this song? Or like, oh my, and I'm like, this is the stuff that I like to see. And then I'm
Yeah.
always the creeper. I'm like, Like, yo, I'm Cuee. Like, I'm so glad I could help. Like, this is a cool thing. I really want to connect. I love people.
Yeah.
And so that brings me joy. Like, this music world connects me with so many people and like stories and life, and I'm just able to like thrive and like.
Yeah. No, it's so funny. Like, I told so I actually have played some of your music for my dad. And he's actually a big fan of you too.
Really?
And his favorite song is Blah Blah Blah.
Why do parents love that song? That's probably what they want to tell us.
Yeah, right. And I told him I was like, I'm interviewing Cuee, blah blah blah. He was like, oh my god. So yeah,
That's
you
so funny.
definitely have reached even my dad. So
You got something for everybody. I love that.
Yeah. No, I feel like your joy that you gain from sharing definitely as a listener, you feel that, which inspires joy in fans and music lovers. So that's awesome.
Yes, I love that. The energy I needed today.
Do you have any upcoming shows or anything you want to share?
I am getting booked for shows. I don't know if I can really announce them all yet. So
TBD.
Catch me on your nearest stage though. And if you want me on your stage, if you're watching this, call me, or you could just DM me on Instagram. I respond.
He does. It works.
So true.
I respond. I tell people that all the time. I'm human. Talk to me. I'll respond back. I love it. And so, definitely trying to get back here.
Yeah.
And get back on stage. Maybe back here in May. I'll let you know.
Oh my god. Well,
yeah.
We all are crossing fingers.
Cross them. That's why I put it out there. So,
yeah.
Solidify it. Yes.
Well, this was so amazing.
This
Literally a dream come true for me. I've been
I love that.
forever. So this was awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you all. I'm gonna talk about this for a while. I'm like, yo, I have a fan. Fans that you see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's tight. This is a cool experience, and I thank you all so much for having me. I really do.
Pleasure is all ours.
We totally forgot to do the outro, so if you want to follow OutWrite, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook at OutWrite Newsmag. You can also read our articles. We post twice a week online at OutWriteNewsmag.org. That's right spelled WRITEQ. Thank you so much for speaking with us. My name is Christopher.
My name is Judah.
And we'll see you next week for the next episode of Speak Out.